Tax registration for a non-resident. Article 18. A non-resident person may not take the value of goods and services imported into the state to determine whether he is entitled to apply for tax registration if the calculation of tax for such goods or services is the responsibility of the importer pursuant to Clause 1 of Article 48 of this decree law. Calculating the tax registration threshold. Article 19. To determine whether a person has exceeded the mandatory registration threshold and the voluntary registration threshold, the following shall be calculated. 1. The value of taxable goods and services. 2. The value of concerned goods and concerned services received by the person unless covered by Clause 1 of this article. 3. The value of the whole or relevant part of taxable supplies that belong to said person if he has, wholly or partly, acquired a business from another person who made the supplies. 4. The value of taxable supplies made by related parties pursuant to the cases stated in the executive regulation of this decree law. Capital assets. Article 20. The supply of capital assets belonging to the person shall not be taken into account to determine whether a person in business exceeds the mandatory registration threshold or voluntary registration threshold. Tax deregistration cases. Article 21. A registrant shall apply to the authority for tax deregistration in any of the following cases. 1. If he stops making taxable supplies. 2. If the value of the taxable supplies made over a period of 12 consecutive months is less than the voluntary registration threshold and said registrant does not meet the condition stipulated in Clause 2 of Article 17 of this decree law. Application for tax deregistration. Article 22. A registrant may apply to the authority for tax deregistration if the value of his taxable supplies during the past 12 months was less than the mandatory registration charge.
Voluntary tax deregistration. Article 23. A registrant under Article 17 may not apply for tax deregistration within 12 months of the date of tax registration. Procedures, controls, and conditions of tax registration and deregistration. Article 24. The executive regulation of this decree law shall determine the procedures, controls, and conditions for tax registration, tax deregistration, and rejection of applications for tax registration and deregistration, as stipulated in this title.